I just got. All right, guys, welcome. Tuesday Live here. Did you see the 3, 2, 1, James?
I did.
Okay. Well, I'm excited today, guys. Today we get to dive in a bit deeper with James Gross. James is a local lender with Franklin Loan Center. He's one of the best. I think he's been in the industry for who knows how long. He'll tell us a little bit more. But he's definitely known to be one of the best here in the area. Great lender. And I wanted to have James on because I think he'd be able to help bring a little bit more perspective to what's happening with rates, what's going on with the mortgage market. And we also know that they are adjusting the conforming limit, which is important to know. And I also wanted to talk just a little bit also about just the importance of people understanding where they're currently at with their mortgage and if it really makes sense to possibly refinance, and at what point does it make sense to refinance and under what situations, because I think it's extremely important for all of us to be as smart as we can with our money. And so I think James will be able to bring some additional light to, does it make sense? Am I my best possible position currently, or should I refinance? Or maybe I should buy an investment property. Maybe so kind of wanted to dive in deeper into those different areas. But before we kind of jump into some of the topics, James, why don't you just give us a little bit more background? I know my intro was pretty generic. Do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah. So yes, I've been doing this for over 20 years. I come from more of the underwriting background, so I really understand loans. I'm known to fix a lot of loans out here in the communities, which is kind of nice. So I think that's one of the reasons why I built a good reputation. Several thousand loans closed and really nothing getting declined. We're all in-house here. So my underwriting's here, my processing's here, my doc drawing's here, my funding's here. Our company is a direct lender. We actually sell directly to Ginnie Mae, which is your FHA and your VA lending. We insure directly with Freddie Mac, so we go conventional. We have our own internal jumbo products, reverse mortgages, bank statement loans, all of our own stuff. Plus, we have the ability to broker it out if we need to. But the problem with us, at least me as a direct lender, I feel like when you broker, you kind of lose a little sense of control because they're not your direct colleagues. They're a separate company. Freddie Mac. So that's about what we do.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thanks for adding a little bit more. And I've been working with James, just so you guys know, and I'm sure many agents in the community have as well, but I've been working with James, I would say a good, 10 years or so. I feel like it's been a long time. And I definitely have always appreciated just how you do things right. You're great at communication. You know your stuff. You especially that's what you do. So, and you make sure you understand the ins and the outs. And if someone can make a deal happen, it's going to be James. And, not only do you understand the guidelines and everything else that goes along with the mortgage process, but you do things right. And that's something I've obviously always appreciated, is the fact that I could always count on you to really giving the best possible service and best possible rate and everything along with that. I think we've come to you in many cases where a client, for whatever reason, their loan gets denied for one reason or another. And sometimes it's just because they don't understand. When I say they don't understand, the lender doesn't understand the ins and the outs, whereas you're able to save a lot of deals like you were mentioning because you really have a really in-depth knowledge of lending. And so anyway, definitely appreciate you over the many years we've been working together. And yeah, you do a great job. And I think you're humble in a sense where you're not going to just like toot your own horn and stuff. But I think you have a great reputation in the Valley, and people definitely go to you for advice and appreciate your experience and knowledge for sure. And Dane, you've already got a lot of like messages on social media just saying how awesome you are. So
I wish I knew how to use it because I can't tell. So.
You have a fan club. You've got Amy. Oh, Amy, what's up, Amy? You helped her back. Geez, I don't even know how long ago that was, but my guess would be a good 7 or so years ago. Amy, shoot me how many years ago that was. I have no idea.
Oh gosh, that was.
Do you know? Amy Carson,
2015, 14, 15 time.
Oh, is that it? I feel like it was longer. I could totally.
Was it longer than that?
And then we have Gloria on, Ernie, Ball, Allison. Anyway, lots of people. You have a fan club here.
Thank you.
2009. Shoot, that was 11 years ago. Holy cow. I feel like it was like 5 or 6 years ago.
Time flies.
That's awesome. Thanks for chiming in, Amy.
Definitely. Thank you, Amy.
And I know you were, I think I saw on your social media that you're thinking of moving. You'll have to fill me in on that. I'm curious. I know a lot of people are moving out. But cool. And Maria Law, she says James is awesome. But anyway, thanks guys for hopping on with us. Let's jump into it a little bit. Just with a little bit of news, what's on the forefront in the lending industry? Like what jumps out at you is like some of the more important things that you've seen in mortgage lending?
What I really want for the consumers to realize, and some of the newer agents, that we're not going into a crash. I've heard this a dozen times where I'm going to wait because the housing market's going to come down. And there is not one indicator in the industry right now, and through investment banking, through the MBA, which is Mortgage Bankers Association, through the DRE, the National Association of Realtors, that have any indication of a downward market. Homeowners today have more equity in homes than ever before. So when those who are in the business who have owned homes and from 2003 and newer, they felt that crash in 2007. Most of those people didn't have equity to start. So when you don't have equity and you lose your job and the banks aren't willing to work with you, people started walking away. Or when people were buying homes to try to flip them and they really didn't belong buying homes to try to flip because they didn't have the capital, they walked away. With all the equity we have today in these homes, you could sell and make money, so you wouldn't walk away. Second is the lending industry has learned their lesson from 2007 and 8 to where, as for those who have done forbearances, know that the banks are now working with you instead of against you. So you're furloughed from work, or you get fired, or your company goes to half hours, or whatever it is. Instead of just doing a notice of default, taking your home and so forth, they're letting you do these forbearances, and then they're not balloons. That's technically all the services that I've seen, which are dozens, are allowing you to put those loans on those deferred payments on back of the loan.
So, Dane, okay, I love it. And I think that's a very common question that we as realtors get a lot, is just with regards to, well, God, like, is it a good time to buy? Like, a lot of people are like, shoot, we've gone how many years without a dip in the market? Like, are we at the peak? And so I think that's definitely a common question and I get it all the time. So in your opinion, it sounds like you don't see that happening. Definitely not in 2021. What would you say?
2022? I think we're going to have a strong 2021. Real estate is predicted to actually continue to climb, the real estate market. And a lot of the numbers we get are national numbers. So I can't say, Riverside County is going to go up 8% or 9%. Nationally, they are expecting a little over 4%, pushing 5% for home appreciation through 2021. Areas like ours might even be greater, just because we're a sleeping community. We're not a big metro city.
Yeah.
being that they're also predicting interest rates to stay low at least through first quarter of next year. As you know, the government is continuously buying mortgage bonds, which are keeping rates down. And with rates staying low, refinances are going crazy. Purchases are going crazy. I mean, when you can get into a house with a 2.25%, 2.5%, or 2.75% interest rate, that's phenomenal.
That's insane. It's crazy.
It's wild. So as long as the Feds keep rates relatively low and continue buying bonds, and the lending industry continues with loosening credit risk, which basically means allowing more loans, more options, more programs, you're going to see this go on for 1, 2, 3, 4 more years. We don't know.
Yeah,
but there's no indication it's not going to stop or slow down.
Dang, interesting. Because I think a lot of people, especially the beginning of this year and with the whole COVID shutdown and everything, that people were probably like, oh, this is it, right? Like, this is what's going to cause us to go into a recession, and we're going to start seeing real estate plummet, or maybe not plummet, but maybe a bit of a downturn. But the reality is, it sounds like all the indicators show that, not only has this year been insanely good, but that we're in a situation in which 2021 and beyond are going to be strong years. So, wow, that's interesting information. So it's like there's people on the fence of like, do I sell and buy, or do I buy? And it sounds like your advice is like, buy. Interest rates are insanely low, and it's still a good time to buy, and there's going to continue to be more appreciation, I would guess, especially considering demand and how low interest rates are. So wow, that's great information. Talking about interest rates, I wanted to dive in a little deeper within where rates are. They've been hovering, and maybe you tell me, around what, 2 3/8, 2.5? What's the lowest you've seen?
Without buying points and so forth or hidden fees, about 2.25.
Around 2.25. So would you say 2.25 and 2.5 is not unheard of?
I'm doing 2.5 consistently. I mean,
okay.
2.5 to 2 3/4. Even jumbo loans, which means above the county limit, Fannie Mae limits, are in the 2s, which is unheard of on a 30-year fixed loan. I mean, I've locked 2 this month that are 2 3/4 on a jumbo loan.
Dang, dude, that's
unheard
crazy to think about. Okay, so diving in a little deeper into that, like, I want people to understand, like, it's so important. Usually our biggest asset is going to be our home, right?
Yep.
At what point does it make sense for someone to refi? I think it's going to be case by case to a certain degree, but it seems like anyone above 3%, it's something they should really look into. Would you agree? Like,
I do. There's several factors you got to look at. The balance of the loan. I'll give you an example. If you owe $100,000 on your house and you're just wanting to do what's called a rate and term refinance, not liquidate anything, and you're at 3.25, going to 2.5 is not a significant difference in payment because it's only $100,000. But you take that same difference on $500,000, now you're talking $250, $300 savings.
So when you think about it, obviously median price home in Temecula area is what, $400,000 to $500,000 ballpark?
Well, they just raised loan limits, so I would say $470,000 to $525,000 is probably your median.
Dang, so it's closer to 500 now.
Now.
Interesting. So really anyone in the Temecula Valley, assuming you have a mortgage based upon a property that you purchased somewhere in that 400 to 600 range, or obviously even higher, you definitely should be checking into, like, does it make sense? Because even if it's only a $50 difference on your monthly payment, in many cases, I'm seeing people refinance and save hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And over the term of a loan, we're talking obviously 5 digits, maybe even sometimes in the 6 digits in terms of what they can save in interest over the term of the loan.
Definitely.
So I think that's something that I definitely want anyone that's listening to this live is like, if you're paying more than 3% on your mortgage, reach out to James. You may want to check in and see if it makes sense for you, because obviously if you can be saving, let's say you're saving $300 a month, $300 is a great amount that you could be putting into something else, whether it's other real estate investments or maybe bulking up your 401k or your investments. But it's definitely a way in which you can put some money away and set yourself up for retirement, because if you didn't refinance, obviously that money is just going to the bank in form of interest, right? And so I think it's very important that people are more savvy with their money, because I think most people just get comfortable. They don't want to go through the headache of doing a refinance, when the reality is it may make sense and it may save you thousands and thousands of dollars. And we all need to be smarter with our money. And so something I think everyone really needs to take into consideration.
Definitely.
So yeah, definitely talk to James if you guys are in a position where you want to see if it makes sense. And also, like, it's one of those things I'm trying to push, especially myself in the last couple of years. I'm trying to just be a lot smarter with my money, because obviously I don't want to work till I'm 80, right? Any other tips or suggestions that you have for anyone that's watching this?
I get asked a lot, do you think it's a good time to buy investment homes? I think if you're looking for short-term investment, maybe not. If you're looking to buy something and try to get rid of it in the next 12 months, that not necessarily. But if you're looking to buy a home that you're going to hold on to for 5, 7, 10 years and let someone that rents pay off your mortgage for you, I highly recommend it. With rates as low as they are on investment properties, putting as little as 20% down on an investment property, it's worth it. Let someone else make you rich.
Love it. And you know what? Shoot, I'll piggyback on that. Like, I was purchasing, this would be my 6th rental property that I purchased. And the interest rate ended up being, I can't remember. I want to say it was just above 3. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, 3.125. I've got probably 24 locked like that.
Okay, so somewhere close to 3%. But guys, this is on an investment property. Usually investment properties are how much higher? Is it 0.5% or a full percent?
With a 20% down loan, normally a full percent higher. If you're doing 25%, it's about a 0.5%.
Okay, but it makes a big difference, because one of the recent properties I purchased in Orlando, it allowed me to essentially net an additional couple $100s a month just because of how low the rate was. So essentially, my cash on cash return was quite a bit better because the interest rates are better. And so I think that's awesome that you brought that up. Is, guys, like, if you're interested in building wealth, most millionaires are made through real estate.
Yep.
And if you've been sitting on the fence about buying an investment property, James can help you not only just guide you in terms of what you need to get ready to purchase an investment property, but could also, and then obviously myself, having purchased multiple properties, and James himself as well, we'd be happy to guide you to what areas and who you could get in contact with in order to purchase properties, investment properties, because you can make a pretty good amount of money. Cash on cash returns, I'm seeing in many cases in the 8-10% range is definitely not unheard of. It's somewhat unheard of here in Temecula Valley, but there's definitely other regions in which you can definitely make a good amount of money on purchasing real estate for the long term. And so anyway, reach out to James, reach out to myself. We would love to help you through that process, because I think in a previous live, I mentioned I've leveraged all 6 of those properties to where, I obviously have mortgages on all of them. I put 25% down on each one, but between all of them, I'm bringing in a good 3,500 or so in positive cash flow over and beyond, obviously, any expenses. And so by doing that, that 3,500 next year may be closer to 4,000 as rents go up. 5 years from now, that number could be 6,000 that I'm bringing in on a monthly basis. And on top of that, not only are you able to continue to build that passive income through those long-term investments, but then you're also obviously going to bank on appreciation and also the tenants paying down those mortgages. So it's a win-win-win, guys. Just remember, if you're on the fence about buying an investment property, there's no better time to do that. Anyway, okay, I got caught up on it. I'm very passionate about it because I wish I started doing this 5, 6, 10 years ago. And so anyone that I come across, I'm always telling guys, you got to jump on this boat, because if you really want to build wealth and get to a point where you can semi-retire or retire at an earlier age, you got to be thinking about these things much earlier on. So awesome. Thank you, James. Sorry, I went on a good tangent right there. Anything else you wanted to add on to that?
I just know for a fact of people I work with, clients that own 10, 12, 15 homes. They're, in their mid 40s. They don't work anymore. They live purely off their investment homes. And some of them making upwards of $12,000 to $15,000 a month profit, plus someone else paying off their mortgages. So at the end of the day, when they're 65 or 70 years old, they're sitting on $8 to $10 million of real estate. So, it's a win-win through equity as well as monthly gain.
Dang, isn't that crazy to think about? I think a lot of the people that I know that are doing really well, they're in that same boat. They were smart enough to pick up real estate. Because, come on, what's the median price home going to be in 20 years from now?
Oh, add another $250,000, $300,000.
Easy, right? And so it's real estate is such a sure way and great way, because you're making money in different ways. Not only are you making it passively, but you're also making it on appreciation and everything else.
Right.
Guys, of course it's important to be diversified, but real estate, man, I can't emphasize it enough. My goal is definitely to do another 2 or 3 purchases this coming year. Because I want to accumulate 10 plus. I'm at 6, but I know that's where it's at. And I only preach what I practice. And the reason I'm so passionate about it is because I want everyone around me to be in a better position in 10 years from now, in 20 years from now.
Yeah.
I want anyone around me to obviously make smarter financial decisions. So, okay, well, cool. Anything else? Let's see. Oh, Michael. That's funny. Hey, Michael, how's it going? Autumn's on. Veronica, Devaney, Amelie, Ashley, Allison. Guys, thanks for hopping on. Guys, if you guys have any questions for James, you guys want to throw in the comments, definitely put it in there, and we'd love to cover it. We have a good, oh my gosh, we're already at 25 minutes, James.
Okay, sorry. So I see Ernie asked a question about first-time home buyer.
Totally. Okay.
Yeah. So let's talk
any
about
tips for first-time buyers? That's a great question. Jump in.
There are 6 different loan programs out there for first-time home buyers. If you've not owned a home in 3 years, that's considered a first-time home buyer. So not on title, no mortgage. There are several programs for you where you can technically get into a home with really nothing out of your pocket but a deposit. Depending on your situation. There are programs for people that have owned a home but no longer own a home, that don't have a savings, for them to help get into a house with really no down payment. It all depends on your situation, but there are many programs out there. They're kind of credit score driven, which basically means they really want scores above a 640, sometimes 660 credit score. They're conservative on what's called their debt to income ratio, but not too conservative. They want it to be an affordable factor for you, which means they don't want you eating top ramen the rest of your life. But there are many programs out there. Please let me know if I can answer any questions. I'd love to help.
Okay, yeah, and I think what's most important is sometimes even people think like, I'm not going to be doing this for another 6 months, 1 year. Like, I don't care. Like, what I always recommend is talk to James, get a game plan together, right? The new year is coming, 2021. We should be setting goals now. And if we're thinking about buying a home, even if it's in a year from now, we need to talk to the lender, talk to James, and be like, hey, here's my plan. I want to get ready. What do I need to do? Guess what? You're going to be in a better position to purchase in 6 months, 1 year, or whatever that time frame is. James will be able to go over a great game plan for you to get together as a first-time buyer and figure out which program is best. And it may be that he's like, you know what? You're in a great position now. You should buy sooner than later. And so anyway, I encourage everyone, especially if you're a first-time buyer, or even if you're looking to get your first investment, do your homework now. And you'll definitely, have a better idea of what you need to do, whether it be credit, whether it be income, or anything else. James will be able to guide you in terms of what you need to do. Looks like we have another question here with Eric Anderson. What's up, Eric? And he says, first-time buyers try to buy a primary residence or an investment property first? What would you say to that?
The most important thing to me is a roof over my head. So I'm all about primary residence. I pay a landlord $2,500 or $3,000 or whatever it is when you can be paying that to yourself for owning your own home. But don't spend all your money putting it down on your primary residence. Try to go in that home with as little as possible. Keep your savings to buy your investment home. So next thing you know, year 1 or 2, now you own 2 houses. And then just keep growing that. Try to get to 10 homes. Try to create a net worth that your employer doesn't dictate your future. You dictate your own future.
Right. And that's a cool thing that I feel like a lot of people don't realize. Like, we really do have that ability to control our future, right? And I love hearing those podcasts where I hear janitors or teachers that don't make the greatest salary, and they've never been given anything like no inheritance or anything of that nature, yet they're millionaires. And a lot of times it's because they made smart financial decisions and usually smart real estate decisions. And I guess my additional 2 cents to that, Eric, is I think I didn't really think about that. Like, it's so important to buy real estate, but for your primary, there's so many options in which you can put down 3.5, sometimes less if you qualify for some of the down payment assistance programs. So definitely, if you haven't already, again, you need to talk to a great lender like James and find out like what you can qualify for and how much you need to save up for. Ideally, I think primary residence is great. But regardless, I think it's just important that we try to purchase as much real estate as we can. But yeah, I think primary is probably the first goal, and then follow that up with investment properties. But
utilize these low rates. Utilize them. Get as much as you can in real estate while rates are low.
And I think in certain situations it might make sense, but each person's situation is different in terms of. I would imagine for some people, I have said like, you know what, maybe you should rent a little longer and just buy an investment. So there may be cases where it might make sense to buy that investment. But the only way to really know for sure is obviously to talk to a professional, someone that could go over all the numbers, your credit, your income, and see what really makes the most sense for you. But yeah, great question, Eric. Let's see, Autumn. Let's see. Do you work with out-of-state first-time home buyers? Good question.
I do. Arizona, Nevada, Washington, Oregon, Colorado. I have 13 different states I lend in, and I do loans in consistently every month.
Nice. Okay. So that answers that question. So yeah, find out. It sounds like 13 different states. There's a decent chance that you do lending in those different states. So that's good to know. First-time home buyers. I think what we're experiencing too, and I'm sure you've seen this a lot, is just how a lot of sellers are going to Nevada, to Arizona, Texas, Tennessee, Idaho. And so we're getting a lot of people selling their places here. And so it's which of the surrounding states or those popular states that a lot of people are moving to, do you do loans in? Just
consistently on a monthly basis. I do a lot in Arizona, Nevada, Washington State, Idaho are probably the most popular for me.
Awesome. Okay.
And so, you were seeing a lot of people moving out, but I'm seeing a lot of the Midwesterns move here.
You are? Wow.
Several dozen loans where they're coming from Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, Florida, which is really weird, Hawaii to here. We all want to go to Hawaii. But, I'm getting a lot of people coming here too.
Yeah. Interesting. Dang. Okay, so James, we're already at 30 minutes. Did that feel like 30 minutes or what?
It didn't.
Okay, so any other hot topics? Let's see. I feel like we had a couple other things we wanted to jump into. We talked about interest rates. We talked about
working in a team environment.
Oh, okay. That's a good one. So what are your thoughts? I mean, of course, from my perspective, a team, from a realtor's perspective, having a great support staff, meaning a lender, escrow officer, title, inspector, etc., is extremely important. What is your take?
I agree 100%. So because I do transactions all over, I don't have real estate agents in Colorado, for example. Although I'm starting to get some of that with my business. But I notice a massive difference with the consumer themselves. They feel more comfortable through the transaction and they question less when they know that the realtor, the lender, the title, or escrow, they're all a team because everyone trusts each other, so they feel confident. But when you work with someone like your lender's in Kentucky, doesn't know the realtor, doesn't know the escrow or title, or even really how that state operates, the client ends up being a little more stressed. And then you hear people saying, oh, my loan stressed me out. It didn't go so well. And then they come to someone like us and say, James, this was the easiest transaction I've ever had. It's because everyone has confidence within the team, which passes that on to the consumer.
True. Yeah.
So I find that really important. And then the realtor and the lender are really important in escrow. So everyone trusts each other. So, the realtor knows what's going on day by day with that loan. The escrow company knows what's going on. They know when loan docs are coming. They know where, is the appraisal and our contingency signed off. All that stuff is a comfort factor when you work as a team versus not.
For sure. And I think one of the things I quickly learned in the industry is the more powerful that team is, the greater the ability that agent and that lender will have in getting offers accepted, and also in representing their clients better than anyone else can. When I go in and I'm competing against multiple agents, I have a better shot than most agents because of because of my reputation, 2, experience, 3, my lender's experience, 4, my ability to communicate effectively and efficiently. And all of those things really play a huge role in my success and the success of anyone in real estate. And so I think, guys, like any realtors watching this, like, guys, if you need to have a strong team. If you have doubts of any piece of that team, you need to be looking for someone that's going to work the way you do, because that is definitely going to allow you to serve your client at a much higher level than most agents can. And so it's important to have an extremely strong team. And a huge part of that is a good lender like James. I can't tell you guys, on the listing side, most of my transactions are on the listing side. And when I see a good, strong lender on the buyer's agent side, guess which offers I am going to push. And of course I present everything to my clients, but to give you a quick example, we have a house that we put on the market on Friday. We have multiple offers, great offers on the table that we started reviewing yesterday, and we sent out counters today on. And guess who is likely going to get that house is someone that is actually pre-approved with James. And it's not just because, and I won't say like James isn't the only amazing lender, but it makes a big difference when you have an amazing lender on the buyer's side, to where I can talk to my clients and say, hey, look, this guy knows what he's doing. He's going to be on top of his game. We're not going to have to worry about timeframes. If he said they're pre-approved, they're pre-approved, because I have seen too many deals get canceled because of lenders that just don't know what they're doing and just aren't on top of their game. They're not experienced. They're not reputable, whatever it is. I feel like great lenders are unfortunately far and few between. And I guess it's the same with agents, right? You have great agents and you have agents that aren't so great, right? And so anyway, those things are so important. Anything else you wanted to add to that, James? I'm sorry, I'm jumping in because I want to just talk it up a little more, because I know you're trying to be humble and you don't want to say too much, but that's the reality. Like, lender is probably beyond the agent the most crucial part of a transaction. So if the lender is good, the transaction is going to be smooth. If the lender's not good, forget about it. It's going to be a stressful transaction.
I work with quite a few agents out in the valley here, and a lot of buyers think just because you're making the highest offer means your offer is going to get accepted. And to piggyback on what you just said, Tyson, that's not always true, because the listing agent explains to the seller, hey, just because this house is $10,000 more, never heard of this lender, or they're out of area, no one knows of this lender, or they're lenders that work from their garage, even though with COVID everyone can be now.
Yeah.
There's a lack of confidence there. So even though you might get 10,000 more, there's a chance it might not even close, so you get nothing.
Yeah.
So to piggyback on it is really important to work with someone that is trusted and that is known within the community to get things done, so your sellers are confident. They know that, for their house that they're buying either here or in Texas or wherever they're moving, they're going to close on their home on time. They're not going to have a delay because of someone representing a buyer on their home.
Totally. Huge. I think all newer agents go through and they learn the importance of how important a lender is. Amy has a great question. I feel like this comes up quite a bit. With a new home build, is it better to go through with the builder or just their own lender? That's a good one.
You want me to answer that, or?
Yeah, I could give my 2 cents, but you go for it.
So it's a double-edged sword. What the builder does, they entice you with a credit to use their in-house lender, and sometimes it's a significant amount, $8,000-$10,000. But if you ever look at the bottom line on your closing statement with that lender, your interest rate tends to be an eighth or quarter or 3/8 higher than if you go with an outside lender. And they traditionally charge a little more fee. So if you're getting 2% or 3% of that sales price towards your closing costs, 1% of that can be eaten up by that lender. So you're already losing some of it because the lender's charging you a little more to use them. Then you have 1 or 2% to help you with your closing costs, but your interest rate's higher. So if you're choosing an outside lender, they could probably match it or beat it, because they can always increase the rate and give you that same credit, but you'll get better service. I mean, I can tell you right now, I think I have 8 or 9 transactions going where they chose not to go with the inside lender because they ended up comparing an apple to an apple. They gave me their good faith. I gave them my good faith. They represented that to the builder's lender. That builder's lender said, oh, there's no way they can do it. I'm already locked in honoring what I said.
Dang. So this is huge. I feel like, this does come up quite often. And the end of the day, I feel like in some cases you have been able to provide better deals for, or, you know, in terms of rates and fees and everything. But I think it is important for them to at least check into it, right? Compare apples to apples. It doesn't hurt to get a second opinion. So I think what I would just add to that is like, look into it a little deeper. It may make sense to stay with the builder, but guess what? Again, the thing I love about James is like, he'll tell you like, oh shoot, I can't beat that. You're better off with the builder. But at least it holds the lender accountable with the builder if you have a second opinion. So my additional 2 cents to that answer is just, you guys, like, check. It may make more sense to go with your outside lender or with James over a builder, even with the incentives. But the only real way to obviously know that for sure is to check into it and have James see what the rates, the fees, and everything else, comparing apples to apples. And at the same time, that makes the builder's lender be more accountable. And hey, if they can't obviously match what James can provide, well, then obviously James is your guy. He knows what he's doing, and he'll be able to provide obviously a great mortgage for you. Okay, but yeah, wow, awesome questions. I'm loving these questions. We've gone way over time here. Let's see, is there any other questions? Allison was just saying, Stephen, thanks for contributing. Team is obviously so important. And you're a part of that, right? With natural hazard disclosures and so forth. Thank you for everything you do. Allison says there has been, here, actually, let me put this up. All right, it's kind of long, so let's see here. There has been many instances where buyer's offer was accepted in multiple offer situations because James was on the pre-approval. Oh, I can attest to that all day long. And actually, shoot, I guess I already shared one experience where we're accepting an offer today because James is the lender on the loan. It makes a difference, guys. The deals that do cancel are usually because they're dealing with lenders that, again, that are either inexperienced or don't do their job very well, in my opinion. So who you work with matters. Totally agree 100%. All right, well, shoot, we're already at 43 minutes. It was great stuff. So I wanted to keep it going and answer those quick questions that we had there. And thanks everyone for contributing. Appreciate all of the comments and anyone who jumped in on this. James, before we wrap this up real quick, did you have anything additional that you wanted to mention?
Not really. I just, stay positive, stay safe, have a safe holiday. Just
love it.
Be happy.
All right, awesome. Hey, and we appreciate you coming on, James. I think my takeaways to this is, like, guys, let's be smarter with our finances, and mortgage is a huge part of that. Talk to James if you're thinking of buying a house. Talk to James if you need to refi. If you're over 3% and you're like, shoot, I don't know, does it make sense for me? He'll tell you straight up whether it's going to make sense for you. But most importantly, we need to all help each other out to best position ourselves to make better decisions in our lives. And one of those huge decisions is making sure that we're paying the lowest possible mortgage and have the lowest possible rate, because that will allow us to save money, build wealth, and many other things. Or it may be check with James about buying an investment, investment property. But I think it's extremely important that we just give him a call and find out if that makes sense. And make plans, right? Like, it's all about making plans. We have to be intentional with our time. We could all want to buy investment properties, but guess what? Nothing's going to happen unless we make that first move. That first move is to pick up the damn phone and call James and say, hey, I'm thinking of buying an investment property. What do I need to do? Take that first step, guys. You won't regret it. We appreciate everyone jumping on. James, we really appreciate all of the knowledge and information you shared. I'm sure we'll have you on here again soon. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, we'll see you next week, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, oh shoot, one more thing. I always do this, but next week we're taking goods to Mexico.
Oh, yes.
Don't forget about that, guys. Shoot, I think we lost a few people here, but we are going to be going down to Mexico to take a lot of goods. Thank you so much. We have a full office suite full of goods, items, soccer balls, dolls. Everyone's been extremely gracious in sharing, buying things, sharing, giving money, and all sorts of other things. If you want to contribute, reach out to me. We have a Venmo. I will purchase items straight off of Amazon, or we'll go to the store and get the things, but we're extremely excited and stoked about taking these things down to Mexico. It's going to make a difference. It's all about making a positive impact on other people's lives, and that's going to only benefit not only them, but it's going to benefit our lives. So guys, if you want to contribute in one way or another, or if you even want to come down with us and take these goods down there and see the faces of these children and what an impact it makes on them, or maybe you want your kids to see what type of impact it has on communities down there, you're welcome, and we would love to have you involved in one way or another. So again, thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next week. And again, James, you've been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right. See ya.